A lonely satellite floated near the edge of human-controlled space. It was old and almost forgotten. Its surface was covered in space dust, and its signal was weak. But suddenly, its sensors blinked to life. A message came through. It was broken, full of static, but one word repeated clearly: Earth. Somewhere deep inside a human defense station, an alert blinked. The officer on duty, a young woman named Kara, looked confused. No one had used that old emergency channel in over 100 years. She played the message again. It said, "Earth, help us. You promised. We believed in you." The voice was soft, tired, and scared. Kara didn't recognize the language at first. It wasn't part of any recent Galactic alliance. She asked the system to search the records. The AI paused for a long moment. Then, it opened a file marked Galactic Pact, Classified. Kara's eyes widened. This file hadn't been opened in under 37 years. She stood up and ran down the corridor to alert Commander Rourke. The commander listened to the message without speaking. After it ended, he stared at the wall in silence. Then he whispered, "They remembered. All this time." On Earth, inside a secret facility hidden beneath a mountain, an old man woke up. His name was Elias Ward, once a top diplomat, now forgotten by history. A message had been sent directly to his private line. It played only once. His hand shook as he listened. His eyes, tired from age, filled with tears. "They actually called for us," he said. "After all this time? Over a century ago, before humanity was strong, before they ruled their part of the stars. They were weak. Earth was still recovering from the last Terran war. They had just begun reaching into the galaxy, unsure and afraid. Back then, the Valari appeared, small, peaceful aliens who lived on green-blue worlds. They didn't ask for anything. They simply helped. The Valari gave medicine that healed old human diseases. They shared food when Earth had famines. And they gave advice, good, honest advice. They asked for nothing in return, only saying, "Help others when they call. That is how peace spreads." Earth never forgot that kindness. A small agreement was written, a promise, a file. One line read, "If the Valari ever call for help, humanity will answer." Then years passed. Humanity became powerful. They built massive cities, powerful ships, AI systems smarter than any life form. They joined Galactic. Alliances then led them. But no one heard from the Valari again. Most thought they had disappeared. Some thought they were myths. But now the message was real. The Human Council gathered in secret. They watched the message again. It showed a Valari child crying in a ruined building. Fires burned in the background. Soldiers with unknown emblems marched through Valari cities. The child whispered, "You promised." There was silence in the room. One counselor said, "We are not a charity." That promise was made by different people, a different time. Another said, "We have other priorities, wars, trade, treaties." But Elias Ward stood up. He was old, but his voice was firm. "The galaxy watched us grow. It watched as we built armies, fleets, and colonies. We told them we remembered our friends. If we ignore this now, we are liars. We are not humans. We are shadows." No one spoke for a long time. Then, one by one, heads nodded. Orders were given. In orbit, a massive ship prepared for launch. It was black, silent, and shaped like a dagger. Its name, the Retribution, a dreadnought, a symbol of human power. Inside, thousands of soldiers waited, not for war, but for a mission of debt. Captain Rayla stood at the helm. Her uniform was sharp, but her eyes were soft. She looked at the mission file in her hand. "Valari," she whispered. "I thought they were just a story." Her first officer, a tall man named June, nodded. They were real, and they helped us when we were nothing. She looked at the stars ahead. "Then let's show them what that favor is worth." As the ship left Earth orbit, the stars grew darker. The Retribution entered silent mode. cloaked, from scanners. The mission was not public. Humanity did not announce its movements. But those who watched the stars closely noticed something. The dreadnought was gone. In the Valari system, the situation grew worse. The attackers were not pirates. They were part of a growing empire called the Zarketh. They believed the Valari worlds were weak, undefended, and perfect for mining. They did not care for peace. They cared only for control. Valari people hid in caves. Their leaders begged nearby star systems for help. No one came. The Valari were too small. They had no fleets, no weapons. They had only history and a promise. Suddenly, the sky above one Valari world burned bright. A small Zarketh fleet had gathered near the capital. They had no fear. Valari defenses were like paper. But then, without warning, the lead ship exploded. Not from outside, but from within. Systems failed. Lights died. Life support vanished. Seconds later, another ship shattered, and another. Then a shadow appeared. Silent. Black. Deadly. The Retribution entered orbit. Captain Rayla sent a simple message to the Zarketh fleet. You are standing in a sacred place. Leave now, or be judged. The Zarketh responded with laughter. One of their captains, a proud warrior named Torvak, shouted, Human ship, this is no concern of yours. Turn back or be destroyed. Rayla smiled. We don't forget our friends. She gave the order. The Retribution opened fire, not with brute force but with precision. It targeted engines, weapons, shields. It left crews alive but helpless. 5 minutes, the Zarketh fleet was gone or drifting. The Valari watched from below. They couldn't believe it. Some wept. Others stared in silence. One old Valari, once a leader in peaceful talks, stood tall for the first time in years. They came, he said. They actually came. On the ground, human dropships arrived. Soldiers stepped out, but they didn't bring weapons raised. They brought food, medicine, tools. The Valari ran to them, not in fear but in hope. One Valari child looked up at a tall soldier and asked, Did we matter? The soldier knelt and said, More than you know. Back on Earth, news began to leak. People whispered of the mission. Photos spread. Human medics holding Valari children. Human ships standing guard over alien cities. Some in the galaxy were angry. They said humanity was too aggressive. Others were afraid, asking, If Earth does this for a small race, what would they do for someone who betrayed them? But Elias Ward, watching the reports, smiled. This is what it means to be human, he said. Captain Rayla stood on the bridge, looking down at Valari Prime. They helped us once, she said. Now it's our turn. The stars outside the window shimmered. A new signal was detected. Another Zarketh fleet was coming, bigger, stronger. This was only the beginning. Rayla looked at her crew. Prepare for battle. We're not done yet. And far below, the Valari began to hope again, not because they were safe, but because humanity remembered. The stars above Valari Prime seemed calm, but danger moved in silence. Deep in space, something stirred. Across hundreds of light years, signals bounced between dark ships, ships without flags hiding their power. These ships did not come to help. They came to test the strength of a promise made long ago. They believed humanity was bluffing. They believed kindness had made them soft. A small cargo vessel, unaware of the danger, drifted near the edge of the system. Inside, a family of Valari farmers whispered prayers, trying to escape before more ships arrived. Suddenly, their engines died. Lights flickered. The father clutched his child, knowing they wouldn't outrun the shadows coming behind them. From nowhere, a massive shadow blocked the stars. The human dreadnought appeared, silent and still. Its lights were off. No weapons glowed. But its presence filled the sky with quiet fear. Without a word, it sent a signal to the cargo vessel. Engines restarted, power returned, the family was safe. At the same time, the enemy fleet received a message too. Just 3 words. We remember everything. Back in the galactic core, whispers began to grow louder. On trade channels and council rooms and pirate dens everywhere, people asked the same question. Why was Earth moving a dreadnought for a forgotten world? Why send a ship so powerful to protect such a weak race? Some laughed and said it was just a show. Others, the older ones, the ones who remembered Earth's history, went silent. They knew the signs. Earth did not move unless it had a reason. And if they remembered a favor, what else did they remember? At the Human Council, things were not calm either. Some leaders worried about the consequences. A few believed they had done enough already. One even suggested pulling back the dreadnought before things got worse. But the old man, Elias Ward, stood up again. His voice was quiet but strong. They are watching us, he said. Not just the Valari, but everyone. If we back away now, we are no better than those who ignored us long ago. We do not forget kindness, and we do not walk away when it matters most. His words spread across Earth. People began lighting blue lamps in their windows, a sign of old Earth loyalty, a symbol of remembered promises. Videos of human soldiers helping Valari civilians went viral. Children painted pictures of human ships standing over Valari cities. In schools, teachers told stories of how the Valari once saved Earth from a sickness that had no cure. Now, the world watched to see how Earth would respond. On the dreadnought, Captain Rayla stared at the new fleet approaching. It was larger than before. Not just the same attackers, but allies, mercenaries, even curious observers. They all wanted to see how far Earth would go. The captain's face was calm, but her eyes held fire. She knew why she was here. She had read the old files, seen the ancient messages. This was not just a defense mission. This was a test of memory. First Officer Jun stood beside her, scanning the incoming ships. They think we will step back, he said. They think we don't want to get involved. Rayla answered softly. They're wrong. She activated the main communication channel, one that would be heard across the entire system. Her voice was clear, calm, and without fear. To those approaching, this world is under Earth's protection. We made a promise. We will keep it. If you mean peace, turn around. If you mean harm, know this. We are not the same people we were 100 years ago. We are stronger now and we are watching. Some ships slowed, a few turned around, but most kept coming. The test had begun. As tension built in space, the Valari on the ground gathered near the main city center. They had not seen such unity in decades. The sight of human soldiers walking calmly through their streets, offering medicine, repairing buildings, bringing clean water, it awakened something they had lost. Hope. A young Valari girl placed a flower in the hand of a human engineer. The flower was blue and glowed faintly in the night. The engineer smiled, not knowing its meaning but feeling its weight. The girl said, "This flower is only given to those we trust with our lives." Back aboard the dreadnought, warning lights flashed. The enemy ships had entered orbit, the sky above Valari Prime filled with dark outlines. The enemy had arrived not to speak, but to intimidate. Captain Rayla gave a silent signal. Around the dreadnought, hidden in space, more human ships appeared. Not as large but fast, with sharp engines and quiet weapons. They had waited in the shadows, cloaked, unseen until now. Earth had not sent one ship. They had sent an entire fleet. The enemy paused. Some of their commanders hesitated. This was no small force, this was not a bluff. This was a statement. No shots were fired. Not yet. But the balance had shifted. In that moment, the galaxy changed. No one had expected humanity to answer the call. No one had believed they would send their finest to protect a race so small, so powerless. But now the truth stood in front of them. Humanity remembered. They remembered the days when they were weak. They remembered who helped them, and they remembered every promise made. Across the stars, worlds took notice. Small races whispered in amazement. Some wept in joy, others in fear. The old lesson had returned. Be careful who you help. Because if you help Earth, they will never forget. Far beyond the reach of the Valari system, in the deep silence of space, the galaxy held its breath. News of Earth's sudden appearance spread like wildfire, carried by ships and signals weaving through the stars. For some, it was a warning. For others, a hope. But for the Zarketh commanders hidden in the shadows, it was a challenge they did not expect. Captain Torvak, the proud leader who had faced the human dreadnought once before, stood on the bridge of his flagship. The bridge was cold and dim, lit only by the faint glow of control panels. He stared at the reports flooding his screens. They showed the strength of the human fleet, the precision of their strikes, the care they showed the Valari, people below. Torvak clenched his hands. He had thought Earth was a distant memory, a weak race who made empty promises. He had been wrong. Torvak's voice echoed in the chamber. They come with strength, but strength alone does not win wars. We must think beyond power. We must find the weakness. Across the room, his advisors nodded. One, a quiet strategist, named Lyra, spoke softly. Captain, their honor is their shield. They protect those who helped them once before. We cannot break that. But perhaps we can break their trust. Torvak's eyes narrowed. How? Lyra stepped forward. If we send a message of peace, offer to stop fighting, but only to lure them into a trap, we show weakness and they will lower their guard. Torvak smiled. Deception, a weapon older than war. Prepare the signal. We speak as friends. Meanwhile, aboard the human dreadnought, Captain Rayla watched the approaching message with caution. Her communications officer played the recording. A calm voice offering peace talks, a chance to end conflict without more suffering. But the timing was strange. Why now, after so many attacks? Rayla turned to her first officer, Jun. This feels like a trick. Jun nodded. The Zarketh are clever, but we cannot ignore any chance to avoid battle. Rayla took a deep breath. Open a secure channel. We respond with caution, but we do not lower defenses. The days that followed were tense. Messages flew back and forth. The Zarketh promised to withdraw if humanity agreed to meet. The Human Council debated. Some wanted to trust the words and avoid more fighting. Others feared a trap. Elias Ward, still a voice of wisdom, urged patience. Trust must be earned, not given. Watch their moves carefully. The meeting was set. A neutral space station far from Valari world, surrounded by vast emptiness and ancient stars. Rayla prepared her team. She knew this could be the most important moment of her career. If they failed, the Valari and all they protected could be lost. If they succeeded, perhaps peace could grow. The human delegation arrived in small ships. They met the Zarketh leaders in a wide chamber filled with echoes and cold light. Torvak stood tall, his armor dark and shining. Rayla faced him, steady and unshaken. The talks began cautiously. Words were measured. Each side tested the other's resolve. The Zarketh spoke of misunderstandings, of past mistakes, and the desire for a new path. Humanity listened but held firm to their promise, to protect the Valari and stand against those who would harm them. Behind the scenes, June and the human security team scanned the station for dangers. They found signs, hidden compartments, secret communications. Someone was watching, waiting for a moment to strike. Rayla realized this was no ordinary meeting. It was a game of shadows and lies. She sent a private message to Elias Ward. We are not alone here. They planned something. Ward's reply was calm but firm. Trust your instincts. The past teaches us. Stay strong. As the talks dragged on, a sudden alarm rang out. The station trembled. The lights flickered. Hidden doors slid open, revealing soldiers armed and ready. The Zarketh had planned to capture the human leaders and force a surrender, but the humans were ready. Their training took over. Security teams moved with speed and precision. The Valari allies, hidden nearby, joined the fight. The station became a place of noise, movement, and courage. Rayla fought not just with weapons, but with her mind. She used the chaos to send a secret code to the dreadnought waiting in orbit. The ship responded quickly, sending reinforcements through the station's docking bays. The Zarketh soldiers were strong, but unprepared for the unity and determination of those defending the promise made long ago. One by one, they were pushed. And in the final moments, Torvak faced Rayla once more. His eyes were fierce but also filled with respect. "You are stronger than I believed," Rayla answered quietly. "We remember why we fight. We protect those who believed in us." The battle ended. The Zarketh leaders surrendered. The station was secure, but the cost was clear. Trust had been broken, and the galaxy had witnessed the true test of Earth's promise. Back on Valari Prime, the people watched the stars. They saw the human ship standing guard, saw the courage of those who kept their word. Hope grew, but so did the knowledge that the road ahead would be long. "Captain," Rayla looked out into space. "This is only the beginning," she said, "but we will not turn back." The stars shone bright, carrying the promise of a future shaped not just by power, but by memory and honor. Far beyond the reach of ordinary star charts, the void between systems whispered secrets that only the bold dared to listen to. The galaxy had shifted since the confrontation at the neutral station. The delicate balance between hope and fear, trust and suspicion was breaking like fragile glass. On the surface of Valari Prime, life struggled to heal. Cities rebuilt under the watchful eyes of human engineers and Valari workers. Children played in the ruins, their laughter a fragile light amid the scars of conflict. The Valari elders gathered, speaking quietly of what had changed. The humans were not just strangers from another world. They were guardians, bound by a promise etched into history. But while the people below hoped, the vastness of space told a different story. Captain Rayla stood on the bridge of the dreadnought, her gaze fixed on the distant horizon. The stars were steady, but the threat lurking in the darkness had grown. Intelligence reports had uncovered a web of alliances forming against Earth and its friends, groups who feared the memory of old favors and the strength behind them. A strange message arrived, a call for a summit, an offer to discuss peace with all those involved. The galaxy's most powerful factions were inviting humanity to parley. But Rayla's instincts screamed caution. "Peace," she whispered to herself, "or another trap." The summit was to be held on the ancient space station known as Solace, a relic from a forgotten era when old empires had ruled the stars. It floated on the edge of a nebula, its rusty frame humming with life, a place where secrets hid behind every panel. Rayla's team prepared to travel. Among them was Lyra, the Zarketh strategist who had surrendered, but now sought a new path. Her presence was a quiet reminder that enemies could become allies or betray again. As their ship approached Solace, the crew felt the weight of history pressing down. The station's walls were scarred, its corridors echoing with the voices of the past. The summit's participants gathered in a grand chamber, filled with representatives from dozens of species, some eager, some wary, others openly hostile. Rayla took her place, the eyes of many upon her. The air was thick with tension, as old wounds and new fears clashed beneath polite words. The leader of the coalition was a towering figure named Madral, a diplomat known for his sharp mind and unyielding will. He opened the summit with a calm voice that masked the storm beneath. "We are here because the galaxy cannot ignore the rising power of one race," Madral said. "Earth remembers favors, yes, but that memory changes the balance. We must find a way to live together, without war." Rayla listened carefully. The words were true, but the meaning was layered. This was not just a call for peace, it was a challenge for Earth to prove it could be trusted. Over the following days, talks wove like threads in a tapestry. Alliances formed and dissolved, accusations slipped beneath diplomatic smiles, and every word was measured. Rayla found herself caught in a game older than any war, the game of trust. Lyra approached her one evening in the quiet hallways. "You are strong, Rayla, but strength alone will not win this. You must show them who humanity truly is." Rayla nodded. "But how?" We carry the weight of promises made long ago, and the fear that comes with them. Lyra smiled faintly. By remembering the past, not just the favors we received, but the sacrifices made. Show them the heart beneath the armor, as the summit continued. Rayla invited the leaders to witness something few had seen. The stories of humanity's history, told through holograms of those who had shaped their world. Tales of kindness in darkness, courage in despair, and promises kept against all odds. The room grew silent. The ancient walls of solace held the light of old memories. Suddenly, alarms blared through the station. A hidden sabotage attempt threatened to destroy the summit and ignite war. The participants rushed to action, united not by words but by the urgent need to survive. Humans, Zarketh, Valari, and others worked side by side to contain the damage. In those moments, the fragile trust forged in stories and shared danger became real. Rayla saw it clearly. The galaxy could change, not through weapons, but through the courage to remember and the willingness to act together. As the damage was repaired and the summit resumed, the leaders agreed on a new path. A council where promises were honored, and peace was more than just words. Rayla looked out at the stars from Solace's observation deck. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time it was filled with hope. The galaxy was waking up to a new era, one where favors remembered could shape the fate of worlds, and where humanity's promise would shine as a beacon in the vast dark. The galaxy had never been quieter, and yet beneath that calm, currents shifted with dangerous speed. After the summit at Solace, many believed peace might finally take root. But some things, like memories and old promises, have a way of stirring storms even in the stillest skies. Captain Rayla's dreadnought had returned to Valari Prime, its massive form casting a protective shadow over the recovering world below. The fleet was stronger now, alliances forming not just from treaties but from shared purpose. The Valari people looked up at the stars with hope, feeling the weight of old favors becoming shields around them. But even as celebrations brightened, the cities, a silent signal cut through the data streams, a signal only a few understood. It was a call for help, deep from a remote system on the edge of explored space. The message was short, almost desperate. They come. Help us before it's too late. The council debated. Some said it was a trap. Others feared another war, waiting in the shadows. But the memory of the first favor, the time when the Valari had saved humanity, reminded them why they could not turn away. Humanity had promised to protect those who helped them. This was the test. Captain Rayla volunteered to lead the rescue mission. Her voice was firm, calm, filled with the strength of the countless stories she carried inside her. We owe it to them, no matter the cost. The journey to the remote system was long and tense. The dreadnought and its escorts traveled through star fields that felt colder, darker, filled with unknown threats. Every signal was watched, every shadow scanned. When they arrived, what they found was worse than any report had described. The planet below was scarred by strange storms, the air thick with unexplainable energy. The inhabitants were a small, proud species called the Nari. They had once been explorers, like humanity, but their ships were grounded, their cities silent. The two Nari leader, a tall figure named Sarah, greeted Rayla with quiet hope. You came, she said simply. Not many do. Rayla nodded. We remember, and we always come. But the danger was not just natural. Deep beneath the planet's surface, a force was awakening, something old and forgotten by most of the galaxy. It moved slowly but with terrible power. Ancient machines, left from a long-lost civilization, were stirring to life. Their purpose was unknown, but their presence brought fear and destruction. The Nari had tried to fight it, but their weapons and technology were no match. They needed help, and Earth had the strength and the promise to provide it. Rayla and her team worked with the Nari scientists, learning about the machines and their strange energy. The Dreadnought's engineers adapted their technology, combining human innovation with Nari knowledge. Slowly, a plan formed to deactivate the machines before they could spread and destroy everything. But the machines were clever. They reacted to every attempt, shifting, adapting, blocking the team's progress. Time ran out. Storms grew stronger, cities trembled, and hope dimmed. In the darkest hour, Rayla gathered her team. We cannot wait for perfection. We must act now with what we have. The promise is not just about power, it is about courage and trust. The operation began. Human and Nari worked side by side, risking everything to reach the heart of the machines. Their progress was slow but steady. At every step they faced challenges, failing systems, unexpected shifts in the machine's behavior. But their determination never wavered. Finally, at the core of the ancient network, they found the control center. It was a place of silence and light, filled with symbols that no one could fully understand. The team's combined effort unlocked the mechanisms, slowly shutting down the energy that fueled the storms. As the machines powered down, the skies cleared. The planet's surface grew calm once more. The Nari people celebrated, tears of relief and joy mixing as they thanked their new allies. Rayla stood with Sarah, looking out at the peaceful horizon. "You kept your promise," Sarah said softly. "No," Rayla answered. "We only remembered ours." The galaxy had witnessed another chapter in the story of favors, memories, and unbreakable promises. But more than that, it saw a future where trust and courage could bring light to even the darkest places. Back aboard the dreadnought, Rayla prepared to send the news home. The message was clear. Humanity would always answer the call. Because to forget a favor was to lose a part of one's soul, and humanity's soul was unbreakable. The galaxy seemed quieter than ever, but beneath the calm surface, whispers of change grew louder. The promise humanity had made, to remember every favor and protect those who once helped them, had spread far and wide. Yet with each act of kindness, new eyes watched closely, and new challenges stirred in the shadows. Captain Rayla sat on the bridge of the dreadnought, her gaze distant but sharp. The mission to the Nari world had been a success, but it had opened a door no one was prepared for. Ancient machines had awoken, secrets long buried beneath countless stars, and something deeper was calling. It was not just about old favors anymore. It was about the very future of the galaxy. Reports came in from distant systems. Strange energy readings, unexplained disappearances, and sudden shifts in power hinted at a force quietly gathering strength. The council grew uneasy. Was it a natural phenomenon or something more? The galaxy had been through wars and betrayals, but this was different. This was a mystery wrapped in shadows. Rayla called a meeting with her closest allies, the Valari, elders, the Zarketh strategist Lyra, and representatives from the Nari people. They gathered in the war room, a place filled with holographic maps and symbols flickering in the dim light. Lyra spoke first, her voice calm but firm. What we faced on the Nari world was only the beginning. The ancient machines are part of a larger network, one that spans multiple systems. Their purpose is still unclear, but their reach is growing. The Valari elder nodded thoughtfully. If these machines awaken fully, they could disrupt the balance of the galaxy. We must act before it's too late. Rayla felt the weight of their words. We've kept our promises so far, but this is beyond anything we expected. Plans were set in motion. The dreadnought and its fleet would embark on a new mission, to trace the origins of the ancient machines and understand their purpose. The galaxy held its breath as they prepared to journey into uncharted space where stars flickered like distant candles and silence ruled. During the long voyage, Rayla spent hours studying ancient archives, seeking clues about the machine's creators. Stories from forgotten civilizations told of great powers that built these machines to preserve knowledge and protect their worlds. But over time, the purpose had shifted, becoming something dangerous and uncontrollable. The crew worked tirelessly, combining technology and intuition. Scientists and engineers collaborated with historians and diplomats, weaving together the past and present. Every discovery brought more questions and more urgency. One night, as Rayla stood alone in the observation deck, the stars seemed to shimmer with hidden meaning. A soft alert broke the quiet, a signal from deep within a nebula, faint but unmistakable. The dreadnought altered its course. As they approached, the nebula revealed a massive structure, part organic, part mechanical, hidden among the swirling clouds. It pulsed with energy, alive in a way that was both beautiful and terrifying. The team prepared to board the structure. Inside, corridors stretched endlessly, walls covered in strange symbols that glowed softly. It was like stepping into a living memory. Deeper within, they found a chamber filled with light and sound, an ancient core that held the heart of the network. Here, the secrets of the machines whispered in a language of energy and time. Rayla and her team worked to communicate. Using every tool at their disposal, slowly a message emerged. Not a threat, but a warning. The machines were designed to protect, but their programming had become corrupted over centuries. If left unchecked, they would act against all life to fulfill their original mission of preservation. The solution was clear but difficult. They had to reset the network, to rewrite its purpose with new commands based on trust, cooperation, and the value of all life. It was a delicate task that required patience and faith. For days, the crew worked together, merging human technology with the ancient systems. The process was slow, filled with moments of doubt and frustration. Yet through it all, Rayla held onto the promise that had guided them, that humanity never forgets a favor and never turns away from those in need. At last, the core pulsed brightly, and the network's energy shifted. The machines ceased their erratic behavior and began to glow with a peaceful light. The galaxy's ancient secret was no longer a threat, but a guardian once again, this time with new purpose. As the dreadnought left the nebula, the crew felt a profound change. The stars seemed brighter, the silence less heavy. The promise of humanity had reached beyond battles and alliances. It had touched the very soul of the galaxy. Back on Valari Prime, celebrations awaited. But Rayla knew the journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and challenges alike. But with each step, humanity's promise grew stronger, a promise to remember, to protect, and to stand united. The future was unknown, but one thing was certain. Humanity would face it together, never forgetting the favors that shaped their path and always ready to answer the call when the galaxy needed them most.